All right. Welcome to my last video of the night on planets through ascendants. All right. So this time I'm talking about the Libra Ascendant and what it means to be a Libra Ascendant. So, if you don't understand what an ascendant is, basically the ascendant is the sign that is rising on the eastern horizon when you were born. And from this sign, we can calculate the house system. From the house system, we can calculate certain things about the flavors of different types of events in your life, such as your relationships, your research, your school, your personal goals, and what kinds of things you like, among other things. Let me get this hat off. I look like the nutty professor. All right, so the Libra Ascendant. So, what is the Libra Ascendant? The Libra Ascendant, firstly, is the inverted version of the Aries Ascendant. So if you look at the zodiac wheel, Aries is at the top, Libra is at the bottom. Aries is the first sign, Libra is the seventh sign. It is basically the inverted version of the true ascendant. So what that means is every house is ruled by the opposite sign um, of its true nature. So if the first house always corresponds to Aries, for a Libra ascendant, first house corresponds to Libra. The second house always corresponds to Taurus. For the second house of a Libra ascendant, it's Scorpio. So basically everything is flipped. This is important to understand the Libra ascendant people because their job is basically to be the counterpoint to the Aries ascendant. So if the Aries ascendant, the true ascendant, is always about oneself and one's personal goals and their ambitions, the Libra ascendant is about helping that person and also providing a sort of balancing act with that person. So this is why Libra, the sign of it is the scales, and Aries ascendant is the ram, is the symbol of Aries, because if you've ever been anywhere near a ram, you know that they're very aggressive, they're very self-centered, and they're very dominating, whereas the Libra ascendant operates as a balancing act for that particular expression of the human pattern of behavior. So firstly, the Libra ascendants, their first house being Libra, it represents um, relationships. It represents balancing things, not being aggressive, not being dominant, not being self-centered, but being centered on the other person and trying to help them achieve their goals. So that is like basically partnership and marriage and being like a therapist, a diplomat, a negotiator, and an advisor. This is the chief goal of the Libra ascendant. And their second house is Scorpio. So this is again the opposite of Taurus. Taurus represents stability and pleasure. Scorpio represents uncomfortable truths and hidden knowledge. So these people tend to gain their resources through their partner, because if Libra is the sign of relationships, second from that sign is that sign's wealth. So the sign of Scorpio is second from the sign of Libra, so it represents your partner's wealth as well. These people can also win sudden gains, like they can win the lottery or can win like like their finances can change in the split second because they're constantly negotiating, and sometimes that takes a while to fall through. They're also liable to get into a fair amount of debt because both Libra and Scorpio represent loans and debts. So you got to be careful of that. Um, but yeah, generally this means that these people get their wealth through the other person in their life, their partner, their relationship. It also means that if they are doing some sort of business, they work better with one other person that will help them to achieve their goals. But typically, this person either inherits their wealth, gets inherits some sort of passive income stream, or marries somebody with a lot of money. These are really the main ways these people earn. So, and the nature of that is also going to be related to both Mars and Venus, because the second house is always ruled by Venus, and the Scorpio is always ruled by Mars. So, and to a lesser extent, Pluto in the south node of the moon. So you might want to look at those two. So these people's third house is Sagittarius, and the way I've seen this manifest is that these people, Sagittarius is observations, but it's also education and their belief systems. So these people like talking about philosophy and belief systems, but they don't tend to stick to just one, because the third house is the house of Gemini, and then you put it Gemini's opposite in Sagittarius in this house. So they like talking about religions and philosophies, but they don't necessarily land on one typically. So yeah, they're pretty mutable in terms of their philosophy, because to them, just keeping the peace is more important than preaching any particular dogma. The fourth house for these people is Capricorn, and fourth house represents comfort and love and things that make you emotionally satisfied. So these people get that pretty late in life. These people's first relationships or relationships are usually quite bad. They're quite hard in their learning experiences, because these people's main goal in life is to learn how to be in a relationship. So typically, because they're also pretty materialistic, they can be focused on material things and not find genuine love until much later in their life, and they might not even believe in that, depending on other placements and stuff. Depending on where Saturn is, depending on if Saturn is in a water sign, these people can seek love and not find it until late. But if Saturn is in an earth sign or like an air sign, these people might just not even believe in love, and they're just like, you know what, I'm just here we're a material world, and I've just got to meet some person who has a lot of money, so that I can do things that I want to do. So it depends on the planet that Saturn is in, and it also depends on the moon. So these people's fifth house is in Aquarius. So fifth house represents art. Aquarius represents science and increasing your output over the course of time through technology and through facts, and leveraging technology to ease your passage through time. And because of that, these people tend to be actually create. This is a good placement for the fifth house, even though it's its opposite, because Leo wants to create art, but often it can't because it's not very scientific. So these people put a lot of work into their creative appearance, and they can also use this creative appearance to attract a partner. So these people are often really, really well dressed, and they do this primarily to get a high quality partner. These people's sixth house is Pisces. Sixth house represents your routine, your day-to-day routine, your plans, and your health, and these people don't really care about that, because Pisces is a sign that's pretty detached from reality. So these people can often be, they can have trouble keeping themselves healthy, they can have trouble keeping themselves clean, they might get into a lot of like drug use or get involved with people that are in drug use. Not always. It depends where Jupiter is placed, and Neptune, as well as Mercury, but like the healthiest people I know who are Libra ascendants are people with like Rahu, or north node of the moon rather, in the like earth houses for them, and people who like have Jupiter in Virgo. These people can be very healthy, but most Libra ascendant people have a hard time with their health because they don't really care about it. To them, life is material, and they're not really interested in the health. They're just interested in kind of having a good time, typically, and talking their way into a good time. The seventh house for these people is Aries, and I kind of already discussed this, but basically these people they like very driven partners that are willing to fight for them and get them the things that they need in life, because these people, being the peacekeepers, are kind of unable to fight for themselves. The eighth house of these people is Taurus, and again, this relates to the second house in Scorpio, because it's the same type of energy. You put the Venus energy of Taurus and the Mars energy of Scorpio together, and you get somebody who inherits their wealth through the partner or through some sort of sudden gain, like a lottery winning, or a inheritance from a family member who died suddenly or something like that. The ninth house of these people, which represents religion and education, is Gemini, and because of this, it corresponds to them having third house Sagittarius. These people, they like talking about religion and philosophy and ideas, but they typically aren't super concrete because for them, keeping the peace is more important than preaching a definite opinion. These people's 10th house is in Cancer. Again, this corresponds to the 4th house Capricorn because it's the same energy. You put the energy of Moon and the energy of Saturn together, and you get a person who either finds love late in life, if they're interested in that, or doesn't necessarily believe in love and is just out for a partner who is strong and can provide their material possessions because they're constantly working and trying to achieve their goals. These people's 11th house is in Leo. Again, this leads to a lot of creative output with art and a lot of creative aesthetic, and they try to up their value through basically becoming very beautiful and beautifying themselves. And they're very scientific and technological, and like they're very smart about how they market themselves to the world, and because they use this as a means to increase the value of their relationships, and because most of their money comes from other people, they're doing this to increase the value of themselves by increasing the value of their partner by appearing as super attractive. And then these people's 12th house is typically Virgo, and because of this, again, they have kind of a difficult time with health, mostly because it's hard to focus on like the complexities of being a good partner and also being like healthy and stuff at the same time. So typically, unless their Mercury is very well placed, like if their Mercury's in Virgo or something, they can invent like intelligent new ways to like be healthy and all that stuff. But typically, these people just they tend to use a lot of, like, especially early in life, they can tend to do a lot of drugs, and they can tend to be kind of unhealthy, and as a result of this, in a lot of ways, this makes it easier for them to find a partner because they're very carefree and they're not super strict. But this can also make them set their standards too low and end up with somebody who is like drug addicted and abusive, and obviously that's not good either. So not caring about health can either have a positive effect because they have low standards, or it can have a negative effect because they have low standards. So, and that really depends on the placement of the planets within this chart, whether somebody's going to focus on the Aquarius 5th house and Leo 11th house and up their appearance, or they let their like Pisces 6th house and Virgo 12th house make them lower their standards kind of to the point where they're already met. So it's just a thing to watch out for if you have a lot of like Mercury and like Virgo and Pisces placements as a Libra ascendant. That is kind of the weak point of your chart, is health. All right. And I would say the high point is probably the Taurus Scorpio axis, or the Leo Aquarius axis, because then in that case you have a lot of potential to attract a really high quality partner, and that's good for you because that is where your money comes from typically. So that was my analysis of the Libra ascendant, and next time I will be making a video on the Scorpio ascendant, so check it out then.